It's been a while, huh? Ayo, what is up everyone? It is the Alpha J of the Alpha J Show, and let's talk about my very first review. I've come a long way, and I plan to redo quite a bit of my older stuff, specifically this, as well as my second review, third, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, I'm gonna skip over 10, 11th, and 25th. I know that's a lot, but I always have a lot on my plate. So let's get into this. So I think the main issue I have with this episode is that it's contrived to a point where it is self-aware, but is also quote-unquote playing along. However, I, the audience, can take it in two ways. The first way is that they most likely are intending for this to be a WTF, this is so weird, LOL, LMAO type. But the second way, the resulting way, was that it really wasn't funny. I understand that it is my opinion, but I mean, this is my channel, what do you want? I really did not enjoy how Gumball and Darwin reacted like how any normal person would react. Confused, non-caring, wanting to enjoy their day. I don't enjoy how Penny had to be in the story in order for everything to work. I don't enjoy how the ending was made to be cheesy and over the top. I don't enjoy how the principal and guidance counselor act. I don't enjoy how anyone besides Gumball and slightly Darwin act. I did enjoy the beginning because it starts like any normal Gumball episode. But the rest of the episode is downhill for me. It's just too over the top. I do understand that the first way, the LOL way, is how they would react. Maybe I'm just too snarky, but all I see is a comedy show wanting you to suspend your disbelief by removing your previous information on how every single character would act. You know, minus the new characters. I do see that the over-the-top nature was played to be absurd for comedy, but I don't see the comedy, I just see the absurd. It also doesn't help that one of the worst characters of the series is in this episode. Also, small question, but where's the parents in any of this? Nicole and Richard are nowhere to be seen. You'd think that they would have something to say about this, especially Richard, who rarely leaves the house. Oh, and let's talk about the premise. Gumball and Darwin being hardcore. Why? I know it's supposed to be that they are not hardcore and the joke is that they're the complete opposite, but here's the issue. They never showed that this is even a plausible conclusion to come up with in the first place. If that's your idea of a joke, then that's pretty much me saying that my voice is very high. You should be laughing right now, but you're not, because just stating the opposite is not funny. You know those episodes where a character accidentally beats up the school bully and he's seen as a tough guy through luck? Heck, look at the fight, which was built off of a misunderstanding that could have been reasonably concluded to. This just states the opposite in order to try to elicit humor. But it's one of those jokes where it's how much you can suspend your disbelief. Think I'm being too harsh? Well, if I really wanted to pick, Principal Brown would have never let Gumball and Darwin, the laziest of the lazy, escort a new student. But as you can see, I'm okay with suspending my disbelief for that. Now, if you don't remember, Carlton and Troy are the main antagonists in the episode. They serve as the people from Richwood High that came over to antagonize Gumball and Darwin. They come out of nowhere, or because of Sarah. Both ways truly annoy me, and they only have one true problem with Gumball and Darwin, just them. Why? Because they're the main characters? It couldn't be because they were the only two to hang out with Sarah. So what is it? They have no motivations to do what they do besides plot. Maybe if Gumball and Darwin did something first, then I can see better from their point of view. Their design is pretty good, and I do enjoy the whole sweater concept. It really does come across as something out of the 70s, or maybe even something out of Speed Racer. The designs, however, are one of the only positive points I can give the show. Now, Carlton and Troy come across in the beginning as clear antagonists. I'm surprised they don't have a sign over their head saying something like, "We are written to be the bad guys." Because the only time they dive into a deeper theme is towards the end, where Carlton and Troy don't really want to hurt Gumball and Darwin, but their teacher/coach wants them to. And that part was actually pretty okay, because it showed conflict within the antagonists. It revealed a lot about the character's dynamic without getting too sappy. I know they come back in later episodes in a minor way, but if they ever did make another major appearance, I think it would really help if they had more of a human connection with this cat and fish, ironically. Now I get it, some people really do enjoy these episodes where older stuff is referenced. Heck, one of the main writers, James Lamont, and the creator Ben himself have been quoted to really enjoy this episode and deem it one of their favorites. But the references are really obnoxious. I get it. They're supposed to be obnoxious and over the top. But guess what? The references are obnoxious. and over the top. I hold strongly that the show should work at the foundation before you add references. Reason being, if people don't understand the reference, the story and general comedy that form the foundation serves as your backup. As much as I'm not a fan of the fishbowl from SpongeBob, if that was a reference to the Stanford prison experiment, like many people in my comment section have been saying, then I did not get the reference at the time, but I do understand the story a little bit more because I know the reference. Here, I don't really understand much of what's going on, but I bet if I watched the movies that inspired it, then I would understand the story much better. But here's the kicker. If I watch those movies, they probably do have a solid foundation, whereas here, the episode is most likely leeching off of the other references for comedy. Congratulations on making the previous generation laugh, but you aired this episode in 2013. Now, the icing on the cake. Sarah. I don't have too much time to rant about Sarah here because this video is about the episode, but bear with me here. You see, the reason I don't like Sarah like at all is because of other episodes of Gumball, but this one really doesn't help her case. She's annoying and the series knows this, so they don't play it up too well for comedy. She adds fuel to the fire in order to power her sick pleasures for other people being in her stories. She's gross. I don't like how she plants the seeds for the hardcore stick, because although no one in the town was really helping, she was really one of the biggest contributors. I don't like how she tries to defend Gumball and Darwin to try to win over sympathy, but at the same time, she contributes to the over-the-top madness that truly plagues this episode. So basically, she comes across story-wise to be a part of the right side, the protagonist side, but from my point of view, she comes across as a massive manipulator. I don't like how she tries to enable Gumball to try, because it's ultimately inevitable and counterproductive, but the story needs it in order to work. They could have easily lost, but no, they needed that extra bump of filler. But Sarah, again, the good guy or girl or frozen dairy product, doesn't help and ultimately leads to a poor viewer experience every single time she's in an episode as a major character. I'm not gonna say I'll never like Sarah, or that she's going to make any episode she appears in the worst of the series, because that's exaggeration and I try not to do too much of that. But here's what I will say. Based off of all the episodes where Sarah is a main character, I never thought to myself, this episode was better because Sarah was in it. Actually, nearly all the times, it was the opposite, the polar opposite. She will continue to be my least favorite character of the series, and if she was sucked into the realm where all the failures go, I would throw a party. Now, in these later extra discussions, I'm going to be talking about, yes, the episode, but I do want to talk about the YouTube side of things, the creator side of things as well, just to give you that extra perspective. Now, at the time, obviously, I didn't really know too much of what I wanted to do. I didn't know my style. I didn't know any game plan. I was just posting videos just to start, because I knew if I started and I continued posting videos, improving along the way, that I would get somewhere. And that's still the philosophy I have to this day, to continue to go on and keep pushing, because even though sometimes the views may tend to fluctuate, I may not get as many comments as I'd like, and even on videos that I think I would do really well in, it doesn't necessarily show there, or maybe in the creativity department I may struggle a little bit. I just remember to keep going. Now with this one, I didn't really have a game plan. I just wrote a script, recorded it, and edited it, kind of like how I do now. But back then, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I kind of took a lot of inspiration from the YouTubers I watched. Now, for some reason in the community, it's kind of a taboo to say that when you started off, you were heavily influenced by YouTuber A and B. But for me, I'm not most of the community. I tend to have my own opinions. So yeah, I was heavily influenced by CinemaSins, Adosa Buckley, Mr. Enter, Pie Guy, people like that. And you can clearly see that in the beginning, those influences show heavily. But my advice to anyone who really is starting out, any reviewer, anyone who's just posting videos in general, you have to understand that your first videos are going to suck. And that's not really a bad thing. In fact, that's a good thing. Because if you know that your videos suck when they come out, that means that you actually have taste. And you understand that you do not have the elements of a good video in your first video, and you have a direction to go. You know what to improve on. And that's exactly what happened to me. Because my first, second, third, and I believe fourth video, all of the first 4 reviews that I did, major improvements after every single one. And I'll go in more depth throughout this extra discussion burst that I'm going to be doing throughout the next few months, leading up to August, which would be my second year doing YouTube. So if I can give you any advice, just start now. I mean, there's a lot of things that I did wrong in my first review, and I fully stand by it, and I don't have any future plans to private or enlist it. I'm not saying that I'll never do that, but at this moment in time, I don't really feel a need to. If you look back at them, you clearly notice that there's a lot of flaws with it, but it had the style that I was going for, a very laid back, chill, sort of clip heavy style of reviewing, and I'm entirely proud at how far I've come. I mean, I've gotten rid of the smoke detector for the most part. I've been talking about topics that aren't necessarily trendy that still get quite a bit of views and stuff like that. The fact that it took such a short time to get to where I am is very, very surprising to me. But let's get into the comments. I don't know how many people commented, but take this video and all future extra discussions as an initiative to pretty much try to comment on any video that you think I might be doing an extra discussion on. As you can see at the beginning of the video, I gave tons of choices. So even if you don't necessarily want to comment on the video itself and more on the topic, I'm still gonna read it because I'm looking for quality over relevancy in this particular case. I didn't find Sarah unlikable at all. I personally thought this episode was hilarious, though I see what you mean about the character contradiction with the guidance counselor. It's a lot of characters in this episode, but I'm just not a big fan of Sarah, and in a lot of episodes she's in, I'm not a big fan of that either. At 0:00, a legend was born. Think you mean born there, but I'm not a legend just yet. Give me, what, a decade? Maybe 5? This is literally my favorite episode of Gumball. I guess this shows how different people's views can be. I mean, I get it. In the beginning, I was actually not really looking at other viewers' opinions before I did my videos. Now, admittedly, I do kind of do that, but I don't let it sway my opinion at all. Like, for example, I noticed that a lot of people are doing a lot of negative reviews on Ben 10, the reboot, and a lot of people tend to just jump on that hate bandwagon. So I decided to push some videos back and give my take on it and kind of defend it and show that it's actually not that bad. This is satire of cheesy 80s animated shows. That's why, for example, the lip syncing you mean, is off. It's supposed to be Gumball and Darwin stuck in a plot they don't want to be, but the plot moves along like they were playing along. I do understand that. I really hope in the review it came across that way. I do understand that they're supposed to be playing along. I do understand that in the world of Elmore, sometimes things happen whether the characters want it to or not. The problem lies in the fact that this is a comedy, and in my opinion, it wasn't funny. That's why I made the video. It's actually one of the weaker episodes of Gumball. And I do understand that staff may want to make episodes like this, referencing the 80s, most likely their childhood, and that's not a problem. I'm just saying at the end of the day, it's just not funny to me. That's pretty much what a lot of my argument boils down to. It's just not funny to me. That's what most of my thoughts boil down to. It's not funny to me because it's a satire of cheesy 80s movies. I'm coming from the perspective of someone who didn't grow up in the 80s. I'm only 19. So yes, I don't see the episode as funny as people who would understand the reference, or just people who just like Gumball in general. So those were all the comments, guys. I know it wasn't as much as the Eds, but that's only because these are the older videos, and I really do encourage you guys to go back to some of them and comment if you really do want to see your comments on these extra discussions. The next one will be coming out in a few weeks to come, maybe even a month or so, but I really hope you guys do enjoy this style. Tell me what you think of the sweaters now that you can listen to it in a much more touched up style. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you not like the references? Do you love the references? What do you think of Sarah? And who's your least favorite character of the Gumball series? Let me know in the comments down below, or let me know on Twitter or Discord. Those links will be in the description along with requests. As you can see, I've been saying in my comment section for a while that I am writing down all the requests that I'm taking, and that if I put a heart next to it, that means I have written it down. If I didn't put a heart, that means I haven't seen it. And if I rejected it, it would be deleted. If you really like this video, I highly suggest you go back to my Gumball double verses, or my Gumball playlist in general. I feel like I've done a lot of videos on Gumball, and if you're a big fan, well, that's a playlist for you. Make sure to subscribe and feel free to consider my Patreon. As always, I hope your time is well spent, and Alpha